See, I know what you want. Okay. Sit. No, no. Put your nose down. No, no. No. Hey, no. No. You gotta do it like him. Okay? Hey. Nose down. Nose down. Hey. Hey. Stop. Stop. Nose down. Nose down. God. Alright, well, you didn't really do it that well. We're gonna have to practice some more. You know what this is, boys? This is the S2000 motor. And that's today's date. Expected delivery, today's date. That means it is time for me to get my button gear and get this S2000 up in the air and get the old engine pulled. And that creates a whole other mess of problems. But before I forget, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys are all doing well. You can tell by the date that I just showed you, I released these, or I try and film these as far in advance as I can. I already have this week's videos edited and uploaded. So this will probably go out next week. And hopefully by the time you see this, I'll have the new engine put in. Anyway, the problems that I referred to. This kind of lives in the garage. I don't really want to let it live outside. So I want to try and figure out how I can maneuver this to leave me enough room to still park this in the garage while this is way up on jack stands, but then also give myself enough room to pull the motor from the S2, which again presents me with another set of problems. Here's why. All right, there are a few ways to drop the S2000 motor. One, kind of common, but more so if you have a lift, is to drop the whole engine and trans as one unit on the front subframe and then lift the car up over it and then slide that whole front subframe out. The problem with me is once I get this thing stationary on jack stands, that's it, I can't lift it up any further. So if I can't get it jacked up high enough, then I won't be able to slide the motor out, the engine, the trans, and the front subframe out from underneath. That was gonna be my first option. Then I was just reading about separating the trans from the engine, dropping the trans on its own, then pulling the engine from the top through the engine bay with a cherry picker, which I bought a cherry picker, so I have that. So that option is available. Now, separating the trans and the engine while it's in the car sounds like a huge pain in the butt because I know those bell housing bolts are all going to be super, super tight. So I know that's going to be a huge pain in the butt. There's a bunch of guys on the forums talking about getting this thing out. I did this in an hour and a half. I did this in 2 hours in my garage by myself, blah, blah, blah. So I don't think the process is too hard. I do think they're juicing the stats a little bit. I don't think they all got it out that quickly, that easily, or it's not their first time. That's just what I'm gonna guess. But the main issue for me is situating all this in my little 2-car garage with enough room to still be able to park the Beamer inside. But regardless, the motor's showing up tomorrow. I need to get to work on this. So the first step is for me to get this out of the garage, park it outside, and then start playing around with how to set up the S2 to get ready for the engine extraction. Ha! This is gonna be interesting. All right, I think this is where she's gonna live. Alright, so if you've ever watched any of my videos, you know I am ultra cautious when it comes to jacking up a car because, listen, I love cars. I'm not going to die jacking up a car, crawling under it, and then having something fail. There's a front mounting spot or a front jack point on the front. It's not the subframe, but, well, No, it's not the subframe. You can see what it is right there. I don't know what it's called, the big cross member or something, I'm not sure. But use that, and then in the rear, there is, you just basically use the diff, the pumpkin, that little spot coming down. You see, use that for a rear jack point, and you're just supposed to put like a cloth or something in between that and the jack. And that's it. So what I read online is if you're gonna drop the motor from the bottom, you need to have at least 36 inches. So this actually is going up a little bit more than I thought. I'm gonna measure this out and see how high up I have it right now, because I can easily get it higher than this. But I don't know if my jack will go 36 inches. And what I've decided on is I think I'm gonna separate the trans and the engine, drop the trans separate, and then take the engine out from the top. So today what I'm gonna do is work on getting the trans separated, and for the most part, I really don't think it'll be that big a deal. Knock on wood. There is a starter bolt that's tucked way back there that I have to get to, but since everything is already off, that's not gonna be a big problem. And then there are two upper bell housing bolts that I believe you do have to lower the rear or lower the front subframe a little bit to get access to. So that's gonna be my task, and my goal for today is to remove the transmission. I don't think it's gonna be that big of a deal, but I've said that before with other things, and it's taken days. So knock on wood, I'm gonna get started on this. All right, so I think the first thing I'm gonna do here is take this shifter out. I just ordered parts actually to rebuild the shifter, and I'll show you what I mean. If you've watched any LHT videos, you'll know that there's a couple bushings yeah, I think that's what they're called. There's a couple plastic pieces in here that are good to replace while it's out. So I'm gonna take this out, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, if you've watched any of the LHT videos, and I've watched almost all of them, there are little triangles on this white piece, and you basically stick a flathead in between where the triangle is and the rubber piece. Hey, none of them are broken. Sweet. All right, I ordered all these parts to rebuild this shifter because it's gonna be out, so might as well. So I ordered this, I ordered that, I ordered the grease for it. All right, so the shifter is out, and then there was this little foam surround piece right here that was just literally deteriorating. I mean, it's all down in there. It's pretty bad, so I just ripped that out. I may try and order that, or I may not worry about it. I'll probably end up going back and watching LHT videos just to see if other cars have that, or if guys have just taken that out. I don't think it's that important, but now I think it's time to move to the bottom of the car. All right, so you're gonna get a close-up view. Here's what I'm looking at. I'm probably gonna disconnect the drive line for right now, and that way I can start working on the trans. I mean, as far as I know, disconnect the drive line right here. Those look like those bolts are, I may spray those with some WD-40 or something and let them sit. And then, let's see, here's the trans mount right here. And then the bell housing bolts. There's a couple on this side, and then there's other ones facing this way that are bigger, which you can see. Ooh, don't want to hit that. Like that right there. I don't know if my finger's pointing at it. That right there. So anyway, it should be fun. All right, well, the hex head bolt, or the hex head that I bought to take off the drive shaft, now looks like this. It snapped it. I don't know how you're supposed to get these things off, but it snapped it. Wow. Okay. I think we're on day 3 of this. Listen, Oh, this is so annoying. I wish I could, it's just so annoying. So I broke an extension yesterday. I'm trying to get the subframe loosened. So I had to go run a hardware store, get new extensions, get new socket. Then I actually went and bought something for this. I spent literally all day yesterday driving around. That's all I did yesterday. But I got the subframe loosened. So now all I need to do is hook up the engine hoist to the motor. Then I can loosen the front subframe and lower that down a little bit. And then I can use the jack that is currently used to hold up the subframe to lower the transmission. And I can get those top 2 or 3 bell housing bolts taken off, because that's literally all I have. Then I can pull the trans off of I can separate the trans and the motor, and then I can remove the engine. And I don't think that's gonna take too long, but I need to support the engine somehow because I only have 1 floor jack. So in order for me to use that floor jack to lower the trans, I need to hook up the cherry picker to the engine, so that's how I can maneuver how much the front subframe goes up and down. So, enough talking. I think I'm gonna remove the hood and remove the hood to get a little more access to the engine, and that way I can have more access for the cherry picker. And again, I'm not filming most of this because it's super hard to film and it just takes forever. I'll give you guys updates as I go though. It's day like 3, 4 of transmission removal, and I have one more thing to do. One more, that's it. One more bell housing bolt. And it is right down there. But what I have right now is the engine is supported by the hoist. Well, kind of. I have the subframe lowered a fairly decent amount. You can see right there. And then that one right there. And then I just took out, there's another bolt that goes right in between those two, 19 millimeter right there that I took out. So the subframe is dropped. I did also read that you want to disconnect or loosen the bolts that hold the steering shaft. So I did that as well. And literally it's just that one bell housing bolt is a huge pain in the butt to get to. I've got my impact on it and I've tried to loosen it. It won't loosen. It's a weird angle for an open end wrench. So what I have now are these adjustable, or these breaker bars that I'm gonna see if I can get on the bolt itself. And then I also went and got these. I figured this might be able to put me at a weird angle to get access to that bolt. So that's all I'm working on now. That last bell housing bolt. Once that thing is off, then I should be able to pop the trans off and then get on to my next worry, which is my car jacked up high enough to be able to fit the transmission jack and the transmission out from underneath? It's gonna be really close. I don't know if it is gonna fit or not. Overall, it's what you would expect. There are videos on YouTube about, the easy way to take out the S2000 trans. It's not easy at all. Like, anyone that says this is easy either has the proper tools or has done it multiple times. If you're doing it for the first time, it's just not easy. It's taking off a transmission. Especially in this, I don't know about other transmissions, but you have to lower the subframe to be able to get access to those top bell housing bolts. It's not easy. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking, get to work, hopefully be able to wrap up this video soon, because this will hopefully be able to pull this transmission soon, because I just want to get this thing out. All right, there we go, boys. So I ended up just lowering it off the transmission jack, putting it on the ground, and I literally had like millimeters for it to slide out underneath. So now that that is out, I slipped on that. Now that is out, now I can go ahead and start disconnecting everything that is connected to the engine. This doesn't need to be in there. Disconnect everything that is connected to the engine and work on pulling this. Well, no turning back now, eh? All right, so look, there's a bunch of videos online on YouTube about how easy it is to take out an S2000 trans, easy clutch job, blah, blah, blah. Look, it may be easy if you've done it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, But if you're just doing this for the first time, I'm just gonna be honest, it's not easy. There's nothing about this that was easy. It's like anything though. You start doing it, you go down the rabbit hole, you run into something where you need a new tool, you need a new part, something happens. There are a lot of holdups. For me, the hardest part was disconnecting the prop shaft, which you can see I didn't even disconnect it from the trans, I disconnected it from the diff because the diff was playing nice. Disconnecting it from the trans, those things are like seized on there. I'm not getting those off. So I disconnected the prop shaft from the diff and then put a jack stand under the diff. Then lowering the subframe to get the angle right to pull out the trans, that wasn't easy. Lowering the subframe itself wasn't too bad. I mean, you have to have a really long torque or a really long breaker bar. And what I do for a breaker bar is use half of a floor jack handle. And that works well. You can slide it over an end wrench and you're fine. You can slide it over a ratchet and you're fine. So I use that for a breaker bar. And a lot of threads and forums say to drop the subframe about 3 inches, which is what I did. But even then, still reaching those top 3 bell housing bolts in the trans or on the trans itself, it's not easy to do. Once you get that, then you still have the task of lowering the trans. The trans tunnel, I don't know, gunnel tunnel, that is very tight. So you really have, like whenever when the input shaft finally comes out of the throwout bearing, you literally have like that much room between the input shaft and the throwout bearing. Not even, you have like a paper width away of input shaft to throwout bearing to then lower it down to clear the trans tunnel itself. Because you'll see that trans tunnel, it narrows up towards the top up there and your bell housing just hits that. So again, once you get those two separated finally, the task of actually dropping the trans is not easy. Then you move on to all the connections and all the hoses that you have to disconnect for the engine itself. That's not easy. Nothing about this is easy. What I did along the way is I put all the bolts in baggies and labeled all the baggies. Generally, what I like to do if I'm doing this from the start is something like this. Green tape, and this is the rear AC line. This is the front AC line. Where's another example? Right here. This is the starter ground. But if I'm doing like the electrical or the wire harness, what I'll do is if I would have unplugged this, I would have put a piece of tape with a 1 on it, and then on the receiving end, I would have put a piece of tape with a 1 on it. Now, some of you guys might laugh at me and say that's a really noob way of doing things. Look, I don't know where each plug goes in the wire harness. I've never done this before. Well, I've done it before, but that's always how I've done it. So I don't know what exactly each plug is. So now I have the difficult task of trying to figure out where each plug goes. And I think I have a strategy for that, but I have a lot of stuff to do to this engine bay before I get going. I want to pressure wash it, I want to clean it up. I got to organize this entire garage. This has been a task. Nothing about this has been easy, but I've learned an absolute ton. So I have no idea how I'm going to edit this video because it's literally taken me probably 4 days working 4 to 6 hours a day. And again, I'm not trying to burn my way through this. I'm not trying to set records. I'm just trying to do it safe without busting up any of my fingers or dropping a trans on my leg or anything like that. So anyway, if you're new to the channel, guys, smash that subscribe. I would definitely appreciate it after all this. And hopefully you want to stick around and see what I do with this because this is going to be fun. I do have the new engine right there. I'm gonna get that in, but I'm also gonna do some stuff to it beforehand and after. So it's not just gonna be a stock S2000, but I'm definitely gonna have some fun with it and get it up and running fairly quickly. So anyway, guys, smash that subscribe, give it a thumbs up if you like these types of videos, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.